Ba-dam, bam, ba-dam, bam, ba-dam, ba-da-dam, da-da-dow, ba-da-dow, da-da-dow, dow, dow. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Thunderstruck Podcast with Tori. I am your host, Tori Ancona. This is episode 18 of the Thunderstruck Podcast with Tori. I already mentioned that, but it is the 18th episode where, I am talking about all things Los Angeles Chargers related, and man, this is going to be quite the episode. I'm really looking forward to being here with you guys. I'm going to talk about a lot. I'm going to talk about the interesting matchup that we had last Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to talk about previewing, the game that's coming up for the Monday Night Football game against the Super Bowl champions of last season, the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to spend time also in this episode to really rant about how this season has been for not only the Los Angeles Chargers, but the outlook of the, if the playoffs started today, and how I don't really have an idea of who is legit and who is not until probably the end of this month. So that's very exciting. But let's get into the biscuits and gravy right away. The Los Angeles Chargers coming back from a bye week. And man, after an ugly game against Jacksonville, we were really hoping that for our playoff hopes to really just dominate this game. And, the first drive looked really promising. Justin Herbert, completed a pass to Quentin Johnston for a touchdown until immediately, I'm telling you, immediately there was already drama after the first drive of the game for the Chargers offensively. And Justin Herbert, what do you know? He suffered a injury where basically his left hand was broken. This scared me to death, not only because of the circumstance of where we are in the season, but I do not know what this team will look like moving forward if Trey Lance were to be the starting quarterback. And I wouldn't think we would be really effective as an offense if, quite frankly, and it has nothing to go against Trey Lance. I think he has extreme potential, but let's be honest with yourself. Even the Herbert haters can admit this, that he is the most valuable player on this team. I really do believe that if it wasn't for Justin Herbert to be present and on the team, our 8-4 record right now would probably be not the same at all. We would have, I would say at best, we would have 4 wins, which would set us to be 4-9, which isn't going to cut it. So there's that for you. We beat the Raiders, though. He would later come back into the game, play with that broken hand of his, and now he is questionable to play this game, but we all know what that means. We just got to stir up the pot, make sure that, all the precautions are met. And, he's been saying this since actually the post-game interview after the victory against the Raiders, that he's very optimistic and he is planning to play against the Eagles. But what does that mean? We need attacking on the running game. And what happened last week was perfect. The Los Angeles Chargers got 194 yards rushing. That is splendid. And now I see y'all got it. The Chargers got 194 rushing yards last Sunday, and that is absolutely what we need to see. Although it is against probably the worst team in football in the Las Vegas Raiders, it really shows that, man, even with Amari and Hampton not on the field, along with Hassan Haskins, who's also questionable to return, along with Amari and Hampton, it's really promising to seeing people like, Jarrett Patterson even get in the end zone, along with Kamani Vidal with a brilliant 60-yard touchdown run, thanks to Trey Harris, who has been slept on as, one of our best players on offense because of, he only has 11 catches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he's been amazing in the running game, and it's really opened up doors to, Jarrett Patterson, Hassan Haskins, and, the biggest surprise of the year so far is how involved Kamani Vidal has been. And he had his best game, I will say. Even seeing him in the passing game a lot really showed me his versatility and kind of gave me some prime Austin Eckler vibes, which, I will definitely like to see a little bit of that. And yeah, and there's been instances where I cringed over the O-line, and I think the O-line is a lot more manageable with Jamari Salyer starting at left tackle. And I know we're playing the Raiders. It could be a fluke, but at the same time, it's really nice to see that, Bradley Bozeman, who has been awful all season long, have his best graded game right after the bye week. Okay, he made some good blocks in there to make some damage in the running game. And, there's still things that we need to, communicate and not get Herbert hit, especially with his injury. But Jamari Salyer starting at left tackle, obviously that has to be the move going forward if he is healthy, knock on wood, because he has position not only in college, but during our 2022 playoff run with the worst coach of all time, he was the starting left tackle for 80% of the year because of the Rashawn Slater season-ending injury, and it's such a sight to see. He's been effective in the running game, which I really haven't seen him be effective in the running game like that. You have some sweep tosses to Vidal, and he broke outside and chased after a DB and shoved him to the floor. And then Trey Harris comes in, blocks two people, as a rookie wide receiver should always do, aka not really. Very rare that you see a rookie wide receiver to have that awareness to really make a block like that, and he sure did on that play. But anyway, Jamari Salyer making his start at left tackle. Need to see a lot more improvement from Trey Pipkins, though. He had a rough few series. Got Max Crosby, which Max Crosby, man. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who, was talking crap about Herbert flopping, but was victimizing the whole situation by, well, he screamed in my ear. Yeah, he screamed in my ear, and I just told him, after the game, I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, Max. Yeah, if somebody got his feelings hurt, and and it is what it is. Respect to Max Crosby for, immediately going to the podcast to be, somewhat relevant this year. You need to be on the scene a little bit, especially on how your team is doing. But anyways, that's enough about Max Crosby. But yeah, shout out to Herbert to just do that little signal right after that penalty. But anyway, where was I? Justin Herbert, it's very apparent how he is with his injuries, broken ribs. He's just going to tough it out, be out there. And, his left hand is broken. And he's like, all right, tape it up. All right, what down is it? All right, let's go. Let me just throw two touchdown passes right after. He did have that goal line interception, which honestly, that's a play that looked bad on Herbert. But also, what are we doing in the red zone? We're giving that play to Ladd McConkey when we have a Rondé Gadsden in the passing game. Even Keenan Allen, a little bit more size for that kind of playing scheme. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit weak to me, and we should have just leaned on the run game a little bit. But it seemed like, from what I'm hearing from Twitter, and I don't know if it's going to be executed in the game when Justin Herbert does play on Monday. If he does play, and I hope he does, because I honestly think the team is a lot better with him there than without. For the goal line formations, we might even just throw Trey Lance in just to give a nice clean exchange of the football, or maybe even do a quarterback sneak with him. Very curious to see what they do there. Definitely in 4th and 1s, 4th and inches, maybe even a 4th and 2. You can just throw Trey Lance in there, and to see if it will throw off, the Eagles defense that's been very hot and cold this year. And speaking of the Eagles defense, they will be playing without their star defensive tackle, Jalen Carter, so very interesting absence there. I forgot what injury he had, but he will be unavailable, along with their right tackle, Lane Johnson. So after a week where the Chargers got more than 3 sacks, it seemed like Tuli Pelotu had 5 sacks at one point. Khalil Mack got in there, Derwin James got in there. Nice to see Derwin James be so effective in the run blocking, when it comes to the defense. And, when he does blitz and you throw a running back out on him, he's going to shed that block, let alone if you have the nerve to not even block Derwin James. He's going to take advantage of that. So shout out Derwin James for making a play, and shout out to Tony Jefferson finally getting some playing time after some healthy scratches that he suffered, the last few weeks. And he immediately had a ball hawking awareness to get that interception that looked like it was heading out of bounds, but Dante Jackson with the nice IQ to tip it back in bounds in the play of the field. And, Tony Jefferson, the unction with the interception. Nice little moment there. Cameron Dicker, money. Dicker, the kicker, money. Yeah, very, very nice to see the run game going. Definitely going to need that. And seeing Amari and Hampton having the expectation to play, I'm very curious to say, to see if Kamani Vidal will actually still have most of the touches just to get Amari Hampton warm for other games ahead, because man, we have some tough opponents for the rest of the year. I believe we have the Eagles, we have the Chiefs, we have the Texans, we have the Cowboys, we have the Broncos. There's teams up there that are above 500, and I think that's all of them. They're at least 500 or above, and we have to play all of them. We'll see how they are. It seemed like the Cowboys were starting to lose momentum in that game against Detroit, especially what they're going through, hot and cold performances left and right from them. They beat the Chiefs, but then, very disappointing loss to the Detroit Lions that haven't looked good. But I wanted to, and that brings to my next point that I want to make. Drop a comment below. Who do you guys think is the best team in the league, and who's going to make a deep playoff push to the Super Bowl? Because I'm sitting here looking at these standings, and I am underwhelmed with every single team here. The team that's overcome the most adversity, I will say it's, the 49ers with all the injuries they suffered in the NFC. And then in the AFC, the Chargers, who have the worst ranked offensive line, leading the charge to support Justin Herbert with a broken hand now. If the Chargers make a deep playoff push, that's a win, because the Chargers had every single reason to crawl up into a ball and fail. And a lot of people are predicting that they're not even going to make the playoffs because of how many injuries they have, and, the lack of offensive line production that's been there because of the injuries of, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, and, Bradley Bozeman being the worst ranked center. But they're still sitting at 8-4 in the 5th seed. It's just crazy. You have the Kansas City Chiefs at the 10th seed in the AFC. If I were to go to the offices in ESPN and I knock on their door, hey guys, it's Tori. I traveled back in time, and I want to tell you guys that after Thanksgiving, the Chiefs will be 6-6. They would put me in a mental institution. They would think I would be that insane. But here we are, the amazing dynasty. And Tony Romo once said that Patrick Mahomes is the Michael Jordan of this generation. Well, the Michael Jordan of this generation is currently in the Chiefs with this brilliant dynasty. They're sitting at 6-6 with basically, they need to win out. If they lose one game, I don't think they're getting in, especially, losing to the Texans. What that would mean would be very painful for the Chiefs fans to swallow. Welcome to reality, But yeah, has so much surprises this year. Yeah, there's so many surprises. About a month ago, the Colts were number 1, and now they're number 6 in the conference. That just doesn't happen. The Patriots sitting at 11-2, completely underwhelmed by them. The teams that they beat aren't really that impressive. They either don't have a head coach, they have a kicker that can't kick a field goal. Not only kick a field goal, kick the ball playing against them. So yeah, and they're going neck and neck against the Joe Flacco Bengals. Those are your impressive wins. Oh my God, well, they beat the Browns, Tori. Are we seriously glorifying the Browns, who don't know which starting quarterback to roll out with? Interesting. They also lost to the Raiders, the worst team in the league. They also lost to the Steelers, and they look like they're frauds. They always look like they've been frauds. Their talent on their roster on paper looks really good, but they can never execute. Then you have, the Broncos. Very underwhelmed by them because of how neck and neck they have been against teams that are injured or terrible. They're winning against the Marcus Mariota-led Commanders. You know what I mean? They're beating Geno Smith and the Raiders by 3 points at home. There's not a team out here that sticks out to me as the best team yet. And that makes me very interested to see what happens in a month. Will there be a gruesome injury that, happens to a team that impacts their whole year? We don't know. Will there be a team that just gets hot and just gets hot and gets hot and gets hot and just won't stop? Maybe. But then you have the team that just won the Super Bowl looking like a terrible offense. Well, they have Devontae Smith, they have Saquon Barkley, they have AJ Brown, they have all those guys. But the lack of quarterback play because of the injured offensive lineman that he is working with, it's not really that easy what Jalen Hurts is going through. Now, does he have time to overcome his struggles? Absolutely. Everybody does, including Justin Herbert with this new left hand broken hand injury that he's going to play with somehow because he's just Iron Man and that's just the way it is. But let me know in the comments, who do you guys think genuinely is the best team in the league? Because are you really sitting here and being like, it's the Bears? Are we serious? Or are we just really locking in recency bias? Do we really think the Patriots are the best team? Do you really think the Broncos and Bo Nix will win the Super Bowl this year? Let's be real, guys. Do you really think it's going to be the Rams that just got upsetted by the Carolina Panthers? It's the weirdest. It's the weirdest year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. But last thing I want to mention is going into this game against the Eagles, I think the key for the Chargers to make a dent and really make a statement on Monday Night Football against this team is take advantage of the run game. I really think the more run support that we have towards that side of the ball is really going to make Herbert, if he were to play, which I believe he will, knock on wood, will overcome the injury and not really be fazed by it. Not that he would be fazed anyway. Yeah, dominant game. We need to be hot with, third down conversions. I believe we were 12 out of 17 on third down last week. That is absolutely phenomenal. The defense pass rush really relying on you guys to really step up the way you did against the, against the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, it seemed like they were Sack City. I mean, just Tuli Pelotu, just coming in left and right. You have Khalil Mack, Derwin James off the blitz. More of that. If they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop, like, Derwin James coming off the blitz. Like, it's unstoppable for opposing offenses, and I'm very looking forward to seeing how they treat this game. It would be a huge win. It would set us up at 9-4, and you just got to make sure that, Justin Herbert plays healthy. Nothing really happens to him. I really hope that the pass rush doesn't really get to him that hard. Jamari Salyer starting at left tackle is definitely a better fit. I really need to see Trey Pipkins improve better. Maybe even throw Bobby Hart, maybe, if it's not really looking good. But that's the key to the game, man. Need 3 and outs, need to convert in the red zone. No turnovers in the red zone. It's the same foundation every single game, but it needs to be mentioned because this is how you really make a statement. Do I feel like even with this injury that the Chargers have the potential to do this? Absolutely, because that is the most valuable player on this team, and if he's on the field, anything is possible, truly. But yeah, we shall see what happens. I'll see you guys in the next episode where I recap the Chargers versus the Eagles, and I hope you guys have a really great rest of your night. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like that, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace. Bolt up.